Hi, this is Farrell. Welcome to page 21, Robot Todd. The first little clip was the Notes app in the phone that I used to write with, and I just wanted to show you that and little thumbnails that I did this time. I usually do like a warm-up drawing before I start penciling, but on this one, I've been kind of thrown behind because like a couple weekends ago I had that show and trying to play catch up, and I just kind of skipped the warm-up drawing this time, and I just kind of went straight from those little teeny tiny thumbnails just right into drawing right on the page. And I usually rule it out based off the previous page and a little stencil that I have, and I tape it down. And that was my first session there. Pencil's really rough, probably because I didn't thumbnail it, but this is the next set of pencils here. So I spent like about 3 different evenings penciling it. Maybe even 4. It took me most of the week, and I started a little late too. But yeah, here you can see I'm kind of going back over the pencils, the really rough pencils. And this took me a while to get these pencils. It was a pretty detailed page because all those like vines and stuff in the first and second panel, really trying to figure out what is in the foreground, what's in the background. I wanted these dudes to be hiding. We saw these guys a couple of pages previously. It was like 3 little robot cute guys that were kind of watching the Robot Todd situation, like him getting zapped and stuff. And then Robot Todd got zapped by this witch, or wizard rather, like a ghost wizard. And fell down, and all his parts went flying everywhere, and his guts spilling out and stuff. And these guys are watching from the shadows of these like pink vine things. So this page, it was a lot of kind of overlapping images, and I was trying to get some kind of sense of like depth, especially in that first panel, having Robot Todd's face in the extreme foreground. And that little ghost, she got shrunk down. So I don't know if it reads that well, but she's like running off in that first panel, and then you can kind of see them watching from the distance, and then they want to approach the ghost, or not the ghost. They want to approach Robot Todd, and so yeah, I have some lettering going on in this page. Normally, it's just most of the lettering, or it seems like, of this book so far, is Robot Todd's inner monologues, the little thoughts, and occasionally like Fern or Sept, who we haven't seen in a while, they'll say something, and Robot Todd doesn't really talk that much, kind of just does like little visual things, like, projects these little emotion things. But in this page, it's he's not talking and they're not talking. It's these little side characters that I don't know if we're going to see them again after this issue or not. Probably not, at least for the first arc of the story. But I wanted there to feel like there's all these different characters populating this world, like little robots and mutants and beasts and little sentient life forms that are kind of adapted to this weird future that they all live in. And so this is the inks on the page, and there's a lot more inks on this page than I normally do. Normally I just ink the foreground characters and don't really mess with the background, but because these vine things gave me a little bit of trouble a few pages ago when I first did them with the paint, I decided to just go ahead and ink them. And after I started painting them, I realized like, oh, there's a lot of parts that I have to kind of touch up still with ink and stuff. So I went over the inks a little bit more after I watercolored it. And I've talked about doing that recently in a couple of pages. But here's after the first inking, or first color session, which I actually did all in one night. Because I was running a little late. Normally I do the coloring over 2 or 3 nights. But because I was running a little late, I just spent from like the late afternoon yesterday all the way until like midnight, where I was still touching up parts of it, and then I was really tired. I just went to bed, and then I woke up today kind of late, and I added a little bit more in the background, just kind of some shadows and stuff in the background area. But here I have the time lapse really sped up a lot more than I normally do. I normally have it like slowed down, but because I shot so much footage, I worked so long on this one, I just kind of wanted to get through it. And I have a little thing coming up here too. Once I'm done, once I was done with the page and I was scanning it in, I realized that the lettering was a little off on the second panel, especially. The second and third panel is the only panels I really have lettering on. But the second panel, I felt like it is not as like symmetrical as I wanted it to be. And normally I just fix that in Photoshop later after I'm doing the production on the whole issue. But I just thought it would be a good opportunity just to, after I scanned it, to go ahead and do that. And I took some screen caps of it. So I'm going to run through that really quick here on the video. And then on my Patreon, I'm going to go through it a little more in detail with the stills. But yeah, here I'm just kind of finishing up the colors, touching up the like the vines and the background. And after I got everything, basically like a base color on everything, it's kind of like piecemeal the way I work. I know some people that do watercolors, like we'll do a wash of all of it with like yellow first and then go in and, you know, add things here and there. But I normally just like let the white of the paper shine through in a lot of ways, like on Robot Todd, because his outfit or his skin or whatever robot shell is kind of white and yellow. I normally just add gray shadows and some highlights, or shadows rather, and I let the white of the paper be the highlights. And same thing with the lettering. Okay, so I'll run down what I do really quick here. I take the lasso tool and go around all the letters, just kind of get as close as I can to the letters without touching them. Select all those, and then I use the magic wand tool, and in each word bubble I deselect all the white space. And then I expand the selection just a little bit so it's got a little bit of room around the edges, and then I copy that. And then I open up a new document after I've copied it, before I delete it or anything. And you can see I'm opening up the new document there. And then I made the canvas a little bit bigger too, because it just goes right up to the edge of wherever you selected. I paste that in there, and it's on a separate layer, so I don't flatten it or anything. And then I first clean it up as best I can with the eraser to get all rid of the pencil marks and stuff as much as I can, without getting on the ink part. And I want it to look kind of soft. I don't want it to be all jaggedy and all that kind of stuff. So, but then this is the important part, is that I use the levels. And so I take those two little bars there you see, and I move them closer and closer together, and it's creates like the contrast. So it kind of lightens it up and also darkens the dark and lightens the light up. So I get rid of all the gray and make everything that's supposed to be black. And I get it to where it's kind of like, I like where it's sort of soft still, but it's to where I like it. And this is another important part too. When I go back to the other page, I don't cut it. I delete it, and then instead of the default on there is the background color, but if you go to change it to content aware, it'll take it out, but still kind of have the sort of mimic the paper that is around it. And it kind of creates a little bit of a ghost image, but I don't mind that because you can't really see it that well once the lettering is on there. So then I paste in the stuff that I copied from the other page, and then it's just a matter of me like kind of moving, and I keep it on a separate layer, and it's just a matter of me kind of moving it around to where I want it to go. You know, like I use the lasso tool, mostly use the lasso tool, and there you can see it's before I change the levels to multiply. And that's another important thing too, is you want it to be in multiply before you flatten it. So you want all the letters, if it's not in multiply, you're going to have that like white area that's in anything that's white, and it's going to be opaque basically. And so you want it to be transparent, and multiply makes that layer transparent. So when you flatten it, it'll just look like how it did before. And then I don't save the other document. There's no real reason to, so I just get rid of that. And yeah, and then it's like I kind of just get them as symmetrical as I want, and flatten it, and then save it as that. And it's kind of like a quick explanation of what I do. So if you want to take your time with it a little more, check out my Patreon. So there's the finished page this time, page 21. Oh yeah, real quick too, we're still running this Monster Us thing for the rest of September. So if you want to order one, the link is in the description for me and Soph. And those are my other books there. Check them out. I have a Patreon, $2 a month. Thanks for watching. Bye.